Here we go, another episode of Alioth Unleashed, and today I have a client of mine, Herbert Dazo, well known as Herb. Some of you might have seen him around the gym in the mornings. Welcome.
Hi.
He's a little bit nervous. It's the first time he's done anything like this, so let's see how we get on.
Thanks for having me.
We're just going to start with you introducing yourself, mate, who you are, what you like to do, and any other information that you'd like to unleash on the podcast.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Herb. I am... Who am I?
Who are you? Tell people.
It's a big question. It's hard to answer. I am 42 years old. I am a father to a beautiful 9-year-old daughter. I work in the tech industry. I am pretty multicultural. I was kind of born in the US. I grew up in Germany from a very young age. I lived a long time in the UK before coming here. So, while that's sometimes a long answer, it's fun because it's, especially in Dubai, because you meet more people who have similar footprints and histories. And what do I like to do? I like to be active. I think, I've always had a life where I've done, snowboarding and mountain biking and been there, but I've also had a good career life where I've been very busy and traveling around the world and got to see things. And as of recent, I think I've been enjoying more and more coming to train with you. And that's been going for 2 years now.
Yeah, 18 months, so not quite, but I think we're getting there. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster, right? Let's just head back to before you decided to come and see me, because I know you said you've always been active, but there's a time where when you come and see me, you wasn't. I think you were stuck in a little rut, right? You wasn't as active as you used to be.
Yeah.
So let's just go back to the Herb 18 months ago. How was life back then? Was you like?
So I mean, Herb 18 months ago, I think was like COVID, and then like kind of lockdown and before that, which I think essentially was a very inactive period. And I think also just a very personally challenging time. I think that's been kind of like drawing through. So it was kind of an accumulation of like, I think COVID, I think kind of all the loads that come with it. I think, the uncertainties, maybe, personal life not being perfect and myself letting my body go.
Yeah.
Prior to that, where I just moved to Dubai about 2 years before, I was just getting active again. I was with a colleague of mine, Jake, who you know, going a lot to circuit training and becoming active. And prior to that, when I was in the UK, I just came out of a very stressful and I think mentally straining job where I really kind of let things go. And I think it was just kind of like on that cusp of like realizing I have to do something and just to get starting with, movement, but nothing was structured. It was, just how it went.
Yeah. I feel like you're either one of two people when COVID came around, or like you said, like when a stressful sort of situation comes up in your life, whether it's work. But let's just go back to COVID. Like COVID, I think you was one of two people where you either used it in a good way or a bad way. And it seems like your health / fitness took a bit of a back step, and, you sort of fell in a little bit of a rut maybe when you was in COVID of not being as active as you used to be and just...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I got comfortable. I just, I think like there was just this scenario of like, I think I just let things down, and I found myself in this, pretty much this area of like, it was like work, Netflix, and, almost an enjoyment of like not being mobile and going around and being among people, but that also had like a very negative effect on me.
How easy was it to just like fall in that rut law? Like,
oh, it was super, super easy. Yeah. I think it just like progressively happened. And I think, in all of, I think the change, there were a lot of moments where I think I was dealing with a lot of like self-doubt. And I think that definitely affected me. And if anything, that only like accelerated how I was like not looking after myself and just letting things go. On top of that, I had like a little foot injury, which I think kind of like affected my mindset. And it was just like, I was going to physio and whatever. And it was like, you can't do high impact. And I loved snowboarding. And I started letting that get to my head that I was like going to be a limiting factor. And I just let myself go further.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can resonate with that whole COVID situation, just letting yourself go. Thankfully, I kept pretty fit. I had a assault bike on my balcony, and every morning I just woke up and got on the assault bike and then had to think about what I was doing for the hour after. Sometimes I spend an hour on the assault bike, but yeah, it's I mean, either way, we've both sort of suffered. I suffered in a good way, you suffered in a bad way, which was I mean, COVID seems to have just come and gone. Like, it's crazy to think that we had COVID now.
Yeah, it's just absolutely disappeared, right? Like it's out there, everyone's out, you're doing things, you're not thinking about it at all anymore.
Yeah. It must seem like a long time ago now how you felt the way you did around COVID.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like 18 months ago, right? Or whatever time it was, 2 years ago.
It seems so long ago. We don't think about it, but also like, I think like the change personally since then, I think with everything we've been doing kind of is like set that time so far back, and even like helped me progress through other kind of challenges. There's like a very like positive distraction, a way of like dealing with myself and how I deal with people around me, or, you know, anything that's kind of forward looking. And so like, I don't even think about that stage anymore.
What made you initially come to see me, or to sort of get out of this sort of rut that you was in of, you know, just being down and not exercising?
It was kind of like, it's funny, there were two things going on, and I think both factors pointed in your direction. So I think the main one was my colleague and friend Jake, who I was just talking to, and I think during COVID we'd have these catch-ups over a video call, you know, work related and whatever. And I think just talking, and he just literally out of the blue just went like, mate, like, you know, I told him how much weight I'd gained, told him about my foot injury, and he was just like, mate, you need to go do something and become active again. And he recommended that I see you and shared your details. And the other thing was actually in I was going to physio, and I wasn't really doing my exercises. And at some point, the physiotherapist, she was like, you should probably just get any type of movement in slowly. I think it was like quite clear I wasn't active. And coincidentally, she's working out in Alioth as well, which was really funny. So I thought that was kind of a convergence of everything was pointing that I should show up in front of the door and in front of you.
And how hard was that initially, just to make that move?
It wasn't too hard. I think it was just more like I'm a person, I'm quite good with making commitments. I think, you know, if I kind of go like, yeah, I'm going to go do that, and I get there, I think it was more the stage about just thinking about it. Do I want to, you know, spend the money on it? You know, am I going to be able to go and, you know, kind of and work my way through it? And I didn't feel like it. Like, I didn't feel like doing that much. I had to like get over the stage of kind of like just, you know, COVID status laying around and not moving about. But it, you know, it wasn't as hard as I expected. What was hard was when I showed up and the first few sessions, which you probably remember, and I walked away and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to come back.
Yeah, for sure. I remember those first couple of weeks of your sessions, and these are sessions where Herb would cheat his reps, would quit workouts.
Yes.
Just not finish the workouts. You just give up.
Mostly, got to at the tail end, usually I'd go like, I'm done.
Yeah. How things change?
A lot, like massively, like, you know, and it's aside from it being visible, I think like I enjoy coming in. I think I finish most workouts. I think it's
do now.
very rare now.
You do now. Yeah.
And I, you know, and if anything, like I'm not happy with myself if I didn't push myself necessary to finish, but also I'm equally very comfortable with saying, you know, where we are. And I think we have this very in tune conversation, you know, like a few minutes just before we start about like, how's the body feeling? Where are you today? And you know, and that little bit is, you know, it's not just about the body. I think it's just about where I am and, you know, in life at that very moment, you know, and how that could affect or how much better I'm going to walk away. I think that's being assessed at that point in time. But loads changed. I mean, like I can move, I feel lighter, stronger for sure. And happier, you know.
I think that's the main thing, mate. And I think people see that as well. Obviously, you come in the gym at the same time 3 times a week. You see the same people. And even though you're not a member of the gym and you don't go to classes, you have sort of met friends and people that you always see at that sort of time, and they do notice a difference in you, whether it's physically, whether it's you much happier. And I think that's good to see. I remember when you first come in, I remember just our goal being just to make sure that you get back to an active lifestyle and ingrain this sort of fitness within your life again. And I think we did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah. I think we over exceeded on that front. And by miles, because I think there's been a lot going on outside the gym that's like come along. Like I've, on my last trip home to John, I brought my mountain bike back. I've started road cycling. I've started mountain biking, with the trails opening in Mushroom Park. I've started surfing.
Yeah.
When I take my daughter out to her skateboard lessons, I've got my own skateboard with me now, or surf skate, and and moving about, and that's been epic. And also like the last time I went snowboarding, like which I've been doing and I confidently can say I'm good at. Like I felt even better at it and stronger, and just more enthused to get more kilometers and rides in.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we've exceeded that sort of goal. Like for me, it was just to make a positive impact on, you, whether it was inside the gym and outside the gym, whether it was physically and mentally, and just for you to, because at the start you didn't really enjoy coming to the gym because you would quit workouts. There was a time where you probably wouldn't enjoy coming, and it was like, or maybe not enjoy it, but you was hesitant of maybe coming in. So I think now you ask me for another extra sessions. You want to come to the gym, and I think doing that, mate, so good to see that you've literally changed. You have literally changed your life.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed coming in. I think I had like a strange boundary mentally about how far I could go in the gym when I was there. And I think always when I was about at hitting that threshold, I kind of gave up on myself very quickly. I think that was that bit. And then somehow on the journey with you through it, and I think like there's always this comment, it's just in your head, which you kept repeating, and it's like, just get out of it, get out of your fucking head and just do it. And eventually we got there, and there was this tipping point of, I think like, where there was some kind of satisfaction in like the load and the pain at the very tail end of it. And you walked away and were like, actually, no, like I did do that. And, you felt some residual pain the next few days, but it wasn't bad. It was like, it was progress related and strength related, and, posture was there. And like, I wasn't having back pains while I'm sitting at my desk at work.
It was getting more mobile.
Yeah. And just enjoying, and then seeing the effect in other things that I started doing. Right. And so, and that's definitely giving me this appetite to come back. I mean, when I went on that surf camp and over kind of Christmas and New Year, like the first thing I did, and actually even during the camp, I was thinking, it was like, hey, like I'm struggling, with X, Y, and Z. I'm not feeling necessarily mobility here, or my pop-up's not great. I can't get my neck in, up the way that I want it. And we have been kind of like, and maybe you're doing it actively, and I think you are. And the thing is, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's somehow we've been doing it, and the next time I go, I was like, wait a minute, it's like becomes so much easier. Like the paddle out into the ocean's been, been there. I got more runs in, I was able to pop up quicker and with more confidence, and I had more strength, and I was less worn out. Right. And that's been fun. Like there's like a relationship between the two now.
For sure. I mean, CrossFit in general, even though we don't train much CrossFit, we don't really do the Olympic lifts and stuff, but you do, the basics, which is squats, deadlifts, upper body, lower body, and so on, and a lot of fitness. It does transfer over well to life. And most people like yourself, they just want to keep fit for family, for your daughter, right? It's like you want to be, when your daughter, obviously she's 9 now, but she's going to be getting into a lot of sports. You want to be there, you want to join in with her, whether it's skateboarding, whether it's other sports she's going to take up. I think one of the main goals for men like yourself who have children is just to be fit and be there for the children, so you can enjoy sort of going to the park with them or doing a sport with them. So it's definitely good to see, man.
Absolutely, it's been fun.
It's not over yet. It's been fun so far.
Oh, it's been fun to have that time with my daughter and the energy, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we see that. How would your friends describe you? Like, how would they describe you before seeing me and now?
Wow. I think before seeing you, I think my friends would describe me as, great guy, always friendly, always willing to help, but always with like a certain level of uncalmness or maybe a little bit of like heightened anxiety. And but also someone who, wants to venture and do, different things and live life, but potentially isn't doing it. I think the difference now is there's a lot more of a calm, controlled person in front of them who is actually doing a lot more to live life and enjoying it. And I think with a lot more confidence and
less anxiety
and ability. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Like a lot more confident now. I mean, people see that as well. Like the way you walk, the way you hold yourself.
Yeah.
It's crazy what fitness can do, right?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's been fantastic.
We did start with we didn't have an in-body machine at the gym, so we did start with taking photos of you, top off, front, back, side. And we carried on doing that for a while. And that was sort of apart from making fitness engraved in sort of your lifestyle, that was one of probably our second goal, was to make sure that whatever we're doing right, and we are seeing changes. So we did take photos religiously, whether it was every month, I think it was at the time.
Yeah, something like that.
And I do remember seeing really good positive changes of the photos.
Yeah.
And that was also very good to see. And I think people need to realize that it's good to get an in-body machine, maybe look at your body fat and so on. But I think the best way of doing it is actually just taking a photo.
Taking a photo was good. I think also...
How did that have an impact on you? Like, once you knew and you saw yourself, like, top off?
There's two things. I think one is I was feeling change. And I think as I started to feel change, I wanted to go like, well, can I see the change?
For sure.
And then there was this bit also where I was like, actually, like, I'm going to share the change. Like I was like, I have this like kind of almost like religious ritual, like after every workout, I like, take a picture of me doing thumbs up and like my whoop that I had an activity, a screenshot, and I send it to, my brother's a mate who's over in Wales, and these a group of friends of mine who I did a Transalp with in 2010, and we've been constantly talking about doing a mountain bike Transalp again, and it never comes together. To kind of show that there's been progress, and that was like a really great way to validate, and it only kind of like made me want to like push further and keep going. But also there's been, in the same time, like I've let go a lot of the picture, because and I think it was like recently we did like an in-body measurement, and the results weren't necessarily changing, but the fact is, like, I felt that there was progress either way, because I could feel I was stronger, I could feel my posture was better, I could feel it in things I was doing outside the gym. So I didn't care as much, but I knew it was there. Yeah. And I knew it was visible, and that was great. Like, that's confidence, right? Like that was right there.
I think the first couple of in-bodies that we did do, you did have a good change when the muscle mass went up. Yeah. Your body fat come down. And then there was one time where we did it, I think 4 weeks later, and it must have had so little change, right? If any. And it can be frustrating for coaches, clients to see that. But then as a coach, you have to remind them that, listen, like, how are you feeling at the minute? Like, you might not see a change on these numbers, but do you see a change somewhere else? Like, are you feeling stronger? Are you feeling more mobile? Yeah. Stuff like this. So it's important for coaches to get that across, I think. And
that particular measurement, when we did, I asked to do it because I felt that I had made progress. I remember I was like, I felt like, I was like, let's, because I messaged you early in the morning. I said, listen, like I'll skip breakfast and whatever. Let's do
not skip breakfast. You didn't skip breakfast. Let's get that right. Well, you did the in-body first,
did the in-body first,
trained,
and then
I had
trained breakfast. But came ready for an in-body. And it was that particular measurement I asked for because I felt there was progress. I felt good, and so when I saw the results weren't necessarily there, I was a little bit disappointed for a moment, and then I kind of got over it, and I was like, actually no, I just feel good, and we were training really hard afterwards as well.
So what do you say to people that who do get frustrated by them results? Because there's a lot of people actually that do rely on in-body results, and they do see numbers maybe going in the wrong direction or the same, and they do get frustrated, what do you tell them people?
Well, I mean, I haven't been confronted with anyone necessarily asking me or going, but I if I had to tell them something, I think just like keep going. Like don't stop and don't get hooked up on necessarily that, because it is about how you feel. And if you're feeling good and feeling better, then, even if it's not necessarily showing in a body fat number or, muscle mass, it's still showing in you as a person or a character and how you handle yourself. And that's a massive win. Like that's actually the most important win, because that's you in real life.
That's some good advice, Herb. What are you training for in general? Like, why do you come and see me? Like,
what am I training for? So that's really funny. Like, at the beginning was, I think, just become active and get healthy again. I
guess the goalposts do change from time to time, right?
I think that I'm doing it because I enjoy it. Like I think even if there was no goalpost, I have definitely come into a state where I just really, really enjoy it. It makes me happy, and it's a part of like life now. I can't think it away. And actually, like, taking a moment to reflect going into the new year, and I was talking to some friends about that. I was like, I've put it as such a high priority, like health and fitness, where, even if I made a loss over it, marginally over, actually I'm as a human being, I'm making a higher gain. So it is up there on the top priorities, with no intent to stop or let anyone take time away from it.
I mean, there must be mornings where you struggle to get up and come to the gym.
Yeah. And
I know you enjoy it, but there are days where, that.
But I always feel better afterwards, right?
Correct.
Like that's the.
You got to remember that, right?
I always feel better afterwards, and even if I don't feel amazing afterwards, because I was genuinely tired, I kind of go like, I feel proud, because I go like, I did it, and I didn't let anything stop myself. And it's been really probably only a handful of times in the 18 months or what where I've kind of messaged you and I've gone like, I can't, like, where I've just said like, the body actually said no today.
Yeah.
Like, and even for those moments though, I kind of go like, oh, I wish I made it. Like, they were genuinely moments where I also became more familiar with me and listening to what my body's telling me and coming back stronger.
I think it is good that we have that sort of relationship where you can tell me that, listen, Lloyd, like, I've just woke up, but I'm absolutely tired and I don't feel like coming in.
Yeah.
I think that's important, because it is important that you do listen to your body sometimes. There are times where, we can sort of push through, get to the gym, a little, determination and motivation will get you through it. But if you generally have had bad sleep or you've had some stressful time at work, which you can sometimes, then I think, just missing a session can help a little bit. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that's a good thing that we have. You've pretty much, from 18 months ago to now, changed your life through fitness. And you've set yourself a good lifestyle, I think. What sort of changes have you seen in your day-to-day life? Like, what are you more aware of now? What do you think of? What changes do you see now that fitness has had this sort of big impact on your life?
A lot of it's been, I think, priority around time spent and planning. I think that's one thing. I think, like, I look forward towards a weekend and I think about like what I will be doing, and if there's even space, not necessarily where there's like social activities or meeting with people I know, or it is like, can I fill this with something else active? And that's been fun. I just before that, I signed up to 3 surf lessons this weekend because there's some waves out there, right? Yeah. Like, and I'm going like, right, what can I do that's gonna move me and motivate me? The other bit is, and like I said, it's how I handle myself. I think in front of people and at work, I I am more shoulders back. I am raising my voice more. I am discussing things. I feel more focused in what I do. And also I think I feel less fearful of failure to some extent. I feel more like, you know what? I'm just going to go at it. And if things go wrong, they go wrong. But in most cases, they're probably going to go right, and stop telling myself, the opposite. Yeah. And so I feel like I've refound a person that I used to be, probably, in a prior life, which has been good. And I've been discovering a lot of, like, I think just joy in, the pretty much anything, like,
in the simple things, right?
In the simple things. Yeah. Yeah. It's been good. I've been more mindful of what we eat. I think I've been a lot more active with my daughter, which has been good. I think we've been going out there. I'm trying to, when there's opportunity, she comes to the gym and, sits there and waits for me, but I wanted to see what's going on, and that, there's hard work taking place. Yeah. I consume different content. I think I focus a lot more on making sure that I'm, mindful of what I watch and I read, that it's positive, that it's, it has a good impact on me and what I'm consuming. And that a lot comes from the community that, you're going, like, when you go to, when you go to life, like, one of the easiest things that you do is you immediately, the moment you walk in, is you surround yourself by like great people, and it has an impact. You see them on Instagram, what they're posting, what they're sharing from their experiences, how they're feeling. And it does impact you. It does affect you in the best way possible.
We've established that, you've gained these big confidence levels, like from traveling alone now to going to these surfing schools, meeting new people and getting involved with different communities over and abroad, and just like traveling alone and just going for it. And it's good to see. Apart from that sort of side, how's fitness sort of helped you mentally, like mental health sort of side? Because everyone does go through struggles. Yeah. And since I've known you, you've gone through a couple.
Yes.
Right? There's been two main struggles, which, one's maybe losing a job role that you had, and another one, divorce.
Yes.
Right? So for most people, they are like two big things that's going to shape people's life. How has sort of fitness helped you with juggling them two crazy situations that you've had going on? Because
it's been the vehicle for, I think, getting through everything. I think like it's been, I think, this separation towards divorce, and I think, the change in career, and like, the back and forth, and I think like kind of the carpet being pulled under your feet for a moment and then restabilizing. I've stayed consistent with fitness. I've stayed consistent with you. And I think, and it's been the vehicle for stepping back, making decisions where I focus a lot more on myself and my own well-being, getting to that state of calm that I mentioned, and that kind of like mental awareness, giving me the ability to kind of think things through on what my position is and how I'm actually going to work through things. So it's been meaningful. And actually, like, again, like, the new year was like this really interesting point where I messaged, you messaged people like Happy New Year, whatever. And actually there's only like 3 people that I messaged, and it was to say a special thank you. And it was you and Jake. And I went like, actually, if I had to think through an entire year of, what's been going on, if I thought about like the 2 people with the most positive impact, it was you guys and what you've been doing for me, because it's giving me that strength and that ability to sleep better, feel better, speak to myself better, I think make better decisions. It's all in there, right? So that's all had impact on my mental state.
Good man. It's funny because I try and tell myself when there's a tough decision to make, or maybe I want to act on impulse, I always try and just take a step back, train, have a workout, and then decide what I want to do about it. Like, for me, it's just getting on the assault bike, doing some workout that's going to destroy me, feel better, and then make that decision of, right, now do I want to speak to that person in the same way I was going to before, or do I want to make this decision? And I think doing a workout definitely helps you just relax, and see things from a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny how that happens. Apart from fitness-wise, how much do you sort of look at your nutrition now, like outside of the gym? Because previously, I don't know if you were so mindful about nutrition, but I know we've had conversations about like what you should eat, when, how many calories, and so on.
Yeah. So prior to me, I was not mindful of nutrition. I think for me, like, if anything, I think the idea of like I did some exercise was like more reason to like just eat,
yeah,
and not care, and I think choose, you know, flavor over benefit. When we started, you made me take pictures of my food every time I ate and send them to you. And then I think like after about like 2-3 weeks, you kind of made a comment and you said, listen, like,
this is what we got to do.
We got to do something about this, you know, and go on to a food program. And I signed up to one, and ended up in, you know, I think changing it once, and then I found one that I really liked. And I think it was a good, probably like 6 to 8 months that I was on a food program, and it is super convenient, right? I mean, it's like, you know, you don't have to think, just tell them what you don't like, and it's benefit. And in that time period, I think you know, doing fitness and eating right is when I think I had the most results kind of like show up, and you know, and that plateau wasn't a plateau in any way of like a negative plateau afterwards. It was just a healthy, like I was in a good spot, and you know, we're going, we keep on going, and my food choices are a lot more conscious about like when, how much, and what I'm eating. I'm no longer on the food program just because, you know, I like to have my choices, and you know, I'll go on it again. But I am definitely eating, you know, right. I think I don't want to say I'm eating less. I think I'm eating what I need. And
just the right quality of food, right?
And I'm definitely eating higher quality, and I'm a lot more conscious about what I'm ordering or what I'm cooking.
Yeah,
I am.
I think it's sort of, you sort of know now that if you eat right and you get a good sleep, that when you do come and see me, you have such a better session.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so if we dial those little things in,
yeah,
it makes a huge difference.
And just like a lot less, there was at the very beginning, I think I noticed it, like, because like, you know, and I think this concept of what clean eating now means, like I kind of like totally relate to when it comes to it. And you know, it was, I think a few times we had afternoon sessions, and I used to dread those. And it's particularly in those days when I was on the food program eating, actually, I felt like all right afterwards. And, you know, we went at it, and I walked away going, you know, I feel good. Like I had more energy than I expected to have. And I realized that the food that I was eating previously, how much that actually like pulled me down.
Gotta make sure you have those right amount of calories in as well, right? Like never eat less, always eat more of the quality stuff. Your thoughts on fitness, like, has it sort of changed from when you first come to see me to now? Like,
oh, massively.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of stuff we've done in the past 18 months that I never pictured myself doing. Lifting weights, heavy weights, wearing a freaking vest, or like really intense levels of training, which, you know, I'll remind that I did vomit in the gym, you know, once when we were getting around those, to now doing them. And I have I like it now, but also that it's not fitness to be visually better. It's essentially, it's to feel better and to perform better, and to understand what you kind of understand your body better, and what you engage. So my view on fitness is changed entirely. And like I said, it also, like, where it comes in and as a priority in life, how you speak about it, how you promote it. That's all changed. And it's become a part of my daily dialogue, right? Like, I think, you know, people know when I go to the office, they go like, yeah, you were in the gym again. It's, you know, it's visible. You've been working hard, you know, great work on that challenge that you did. And that's cool. So I just can't, I can't picture it. It's just a very honest place. And it's, I think particularly, I think in the environment where we are also, like I said, like it's also an easy way to surround yourself by good people, which has impact on you.
For sure. Got to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
You just picked up on it then, but it's good that we have performance goals and sort of physical goals. Like we have the physical where we take the photos, or we have the in-body machine. Yeah. So people obviously always want to look better. They always want to look good naked. They always want to look like be happy when they see themselves in the mirror. But I do think that, you know, when we sometimes hit a plateau there, which you have done recently on the in-body results, let's say, it's good to just flip the coin and just focus on performance side. Yeah. So it's very important that we have both set of goals for you.
Yeah.
You know, performance and the visual stuff.
Yes.
There's been a lot of performance related goals since we met. It started off pretty easy with, I think it was like one of our first goals was just to get 140 kilo deadlift, for example. Yeah. Which previous to lifting it, you know, it wasn't an easy goal to have, right? We worked towards it. It was like an 8 to 12 week sort of program that you was on, and pulling off the floor and getting stronger for this deadlift. And at the end of the program, you indeed lifted, I think it was 145 kilos. So yeah, you surpassed 140. Do you remember much of that sort of program that you was doing?
Yeah.
Your first goal?
Absolutely.
Performance related?
On the first goal with the deadlift, I think one thing I remembered is like, that was the first time ever I went like, actually like lifting weights is cool. Like this whole thing about getting stronger is, you know, it's awesome, and it has so much impact on everything else. I remember also that I started really enjoying like the concept of like technique, and you probably remember, like I kept on asking you, I was like, oh, is it this right? You know, I can feel it here. And I was being really descriptive and probably starting to geek out on it a little bit in you know, the lightest way possible. And the feeling when I did it, and it was such a short moment. It was like, you know, it was like,
not even, yeah,
it's like, I said, like, did it, you know, the video had been done, you know, achieved it, but I felt so good, you know, it was so good. And it was this achievement of something, like I said, like I never pictured me lifting weights as part of any fitness journey or any health journey in my life, right? It was like I did something absolutely different. I never pictured myself wearing, you know, a weightlifting belt and like, you know, and
knee sleeves and weightlifting shoes
and knee sleeves and, you know, having weightlifting shoes now, it wasn't part of my life, but it was also nothing that I ever like manifested in my like, you know, or imagined in my head that I would actually manifest and do that in real. And the success of it was awesome, but also the learning curve was all the other little bits of training you did with me, all the other moves. I couldn't do a lunge. You know, the warm-ups, the exercises, what you called, I think, accessories, or, you know, they made such a difference in like feeling those kind of like little wins worked together, and that they do play a role, and that I can pull strength from different parts of my body, even though it's the same type of move that I'm doing over and over again. We're like super impressive.
So we went from, I mean, that was purposeful, like 140 kilo deadlift for your first goal was, I mean, I knew you was going to reach 140 kilo deadlift. And it, like you said, it was just like a short amount of space of time when it happened. So we went from 140 kilo deadlift as your first goal, for your second one being, was it a marathon row?
Marathon row.
So you went from 140 kilo deadlift to, right, Herb, you're doing you're doing a marathon row now.
Yeah.
And again, we trained for that. You spent a lot of time just sat on the rower, and you did this. Most of the training was actually in your gym on your like off days if you were with me. So you trained strength with me 3 times a week, and then maybe 2 times a week you'd do your own sort of training. The training that I would send you, you'd do it in your apartment gym, or you'd be away and you'd do it while you was on holiday. One
of the loneliest moments was rowing 30 kilometers on my own. In the gym in the apartment building that I just moved into. They have the same type of rower. And there was no Wi-Fi, so there was no music.
Oh, nightmare.
And I was cool with it, and I loved the build up to it, because like the way you would give me, you go like, hey, today you're gonna do it by time, this time you're gonna do it by distance, you're gonna do 3 rounds of this, 6 rounds of this time you're gonna try for pace, and get a feeling. I became so familiar with myself in the process, you know, and like kind of understanding my capacity, understanding, you know, also I think different techniques on the rower, that there are several, just to kind of get through it and pull the way through. And I think on the day, you know, it was good. It was good fun.
Different type of goal, obviously, from 140 kilo deadlift to marathon row. And like you just mentioned, you did spend 30k on a rower in silence, if you will, on your own. What sort of things go through your mind when you sat on a rower for 30k with no music? Like, you must learn a lot about yourself. Like, what are you thinking?
I think like the pain threshold of one's ass is the first thing you get to get familiar with.
Because you could have easily stopped, surely. You could have just, you know, stopped and just be like, Lloyd, I'm not having this.
Yeah. Funny enough, that never really crossed my mind, like stopping. Kind of going, I want to slow down, you know. Yeah, or like, you know, this sucks, I need some music. You know, that was there. I think definitely when I was doing that, and with everything that was kind of going on with me, it was a very healthy way to step away from everything, do something good for myself, and be left alone with my own thoughts, and actually spend a extended threshold of time thinking about them and actually reprocessing what I'm thinking over and over again, and then hitting some kind of exhaustion level. I was like, good, you know, I'm done thinking about this. Let's move on to the next level, or not think about anything and just keep going. Like it worked. Like it was super beneficial. I think it's actually probably like the right challenge at the right time, because it was very, you know, it wasn't anything super technical to some extent or daunting. It was just a lot about actually mental strength, I think, in a lot of the process, like endurance and just kind of going, you're going to keep doing this, and keep doing this, and you're going to get better and faster and pull through.
You know, if I cast my mind back to when I first met you and your first couple of sessions, I would never have thought that you'd have completed a marathon row. Would you?
No.
It's crazy how that come about, but we did indeed smash that marathon row.
Yeah, and I hated the rower. Like the ski and the rower were two things that, like, I think anytime you pulled them out, like I was just like, oh no, not this. And then usually when we do it, it'd be like after some kind of, you know, weight session or, you know, something else. Or I remember once we did it in a combination with wall balls and rowing, and I just like, it was agony, absolute agony. So yeah, I never pictured that we'd be doing that. Yeah, it was fun.
I think it was around this time that I sort of discovered, like, you like to work towards a set goal, right? So it was like these sort of big challenges, whether it's 140 kilo deadlift, marathon row. And we sort of started from then, after the marathon row, to start thinking about what the next one would be.
Yeah.
The next one after your row was 1,000 weighted vest box step-ups, also known as Chad. Yeah. Again, I think even before we'd set that goal, I think training-wise, even if we'd have just said, right, you're doing it tomorrow, I think you'd have got past it. Because we were doing a lot of lower body stuff. We're doing your split squats, we're doing your deadlifts, we was doing a lot of lower body stuff. So I do think that even if we'd have said, right, let's do it now, you'd have got through it. But we did, in fact, have I think it was like 5 to 6 weeks of training, stepping on the box with a vest and with weights and so on and so on and so on. And that come about, and again, people joined in, like the marathon row, people come in and did the step-ups with you and spurred you on, and you got through that. How long did that take you, do you remember?
90 minutes, I think.
It was around 90 minutes, right? So
it was 90 minutes.
Not as long as your marathon row, but...
Marathon row was at 3 hours and 42, I think. I can't remember.
Nice. But a different sort of test this time, just stepping up and on a box and back down again. And
so the interesting thing about that one was, and I remember when you were like, hey, like, let's do it next week. I was like, and I told him, I was like, but we haven't been doing any box step-ups. Like as we did everything to strengthen myself around it. And we barely did any box step-ups. Like and I was so surprised by it, you know, and I don't even think I wore the vest that much. Like, you know, I had it and it was great. I think that was also like a big acknowledgement of like how everything else plays a role in like bringing myself to be capable of doing that goal. And it was fun. And it also was what was really cool about it was, I think, the dynamic. And I think, like you said, like you start becoming part of the community. It was like after the marathon row, people would ask, what's next? And we say it. And like, surprisingly, like there were quite a few people who joined in, and it was fun. You know, it was strong mental support on the journey, but it also was just like fun, and you say thank you, and you have something to exchange over and talk about.
And enjoy your high fives a couple of days after.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I'm still enjoying the high fives today. You know, as of the last challenge, it was good.
Let's talk about the last challenge, because this was your most recent one.
Yes.
And probably your toughest one to date. I called it the C2 try, and we started off with a 10K ski into a 20K row, and we finished off with 40K on the bike.
Yeah.
And that was his challenge. I sort of come up with it. It wasn't your sort of idea. We knew we wanted a sort of long...
I proposed something stupid.
You did.
And you thankfully brought that down. And because I was like, oh, what do we come up next? Trying to think what else is out there. And I asked if you could do an entire marathon on a ski. Like, and I'm really happy we didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because 10K was hard, right?
10K was absolutely miserable.
I mean, it's not impossible to do a marathon ski, but I just knew you'd enjoy this one a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Previously, leading up to the C2 try, was you confident in completing it? Was you anxious, nervous for doing it beforehand, or?
I was definitely more anxious and nervous about maybe not completing this one.
Why? Just because you knew it was going to be long, or?
I think it was going to be long. In the process of training up to it, I realized how tough skiing, like on the C2 ski for like even like being half an hour, can be, and like what it means to try and hold it. And we were constantly always trying to hold pace, and working towards that and assessing it. So I felt confident in, I think, understanding, the pace or how we got to the kind of the goal or the estimates that we got to. But there were just a few points where like exhaustion like kicked in, and we were doing a lot of cardio. I think we were doing like once a week, like a heavy cardio bit. And I realized how tired I'd get throughout the day and like carrying. And I consciously decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start eating a lot more. I'm like having some really big fatigue points. And I definitely felt, I think like particularly the week before, I was like kind of like people are asking me going like,
it's next week.
How do you feel about it? It's next week. It's going to be great. And I was like, yeah, it is. And my answer went kind of like, we're going to go kill this, like to kind of being like, yeah, it's it's on Saturday.
Yeah. It's soon come around, right?
I think the biggest deciding factor on, and or maybe, what I think contributed is like, I really focused in the week up on rest and like sleeping properly. And then it was people. Like, I think I was just so humbled by, when I showed up in the morning and I was there well before you, like early, and like,
oh, come on, not well before. It was like 5 minutes. 5 minutes she was waiting. He was waiting 5 minutes for me.
But because I was like nervous, like, I was like, I wanted to get out of the way. Like, Diego was parked outside already, listening to tunes, and I was wondering what he's doing there. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to join in. And like that felt really, really, really good. And I think so many people came in, and it looked fun. I mean, if you look at all the videos and the posts, and like kind of how the constellation of, machines like changes, and like there's constantly different people, it really did carry you far. And then having like, the 3-4 voices in the back of your head, particularly when you were struggling, was great. And so you couldn't stop. You'd have to keep going.
What bit of that try was hardest?
The last 3 kilometers of the ski, I was really like stopping quite frequently, and just, and it's actually the one that's the first time I remember I said I can't.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and like the
Diego was giving you some.
And the the tail end of the row, like those two. And I think like on both of those, it was the agony of like, I'm fighting to get to the end now. Where on the bike at the end, it was like, no, I'm like sprinting for the end now, right? Like it was entirely different. Like those two bits were really, really hard. And on the row, again, just like, you know, staying seated is so painful. Like you just don't have any, comparing to the bike where you're seated as well, there's not much you can do to alleviate that pain while you're sitting. You just have to kind of, you're constantly sitting, where on the bike you can kind of lift your bum up a bit, stand up slightly, you know, shake it out, change your positioning. On the seat, you're kind of changing your position, but you're just still like flat on the seat, and it just needs a break.
Yeah. We did have like a set estimated sort of time for you to complete it in, and that was around 4.5 hours. At like the good side.
Yeah.
And you completed it in 4 hours and, was it 11 or 12 minutes?
Yeah, 11.
11 minutes. So 4 hours, 11 minutes, which, you know, you surpassed that goal that I set you of, you know, sub 5 to 4.5, which you did really well with.
Yeah. It's super proud. I like the, you know, if you ask about a change in mentality to even like a challenge, like when we were working on determining the pace, like I always had like, okay, the skier and the rower, the pace is roughly the same. I was like 2.5 minutes per 500 meters. And then, you know, the bike is 2.5 kilometers or no, what was it? Anyway, double. Anyway, so change towards performance goals. So on the first part of the ski, I think I was pacing towards 1 hour and 40 minutes, or I can't remember. No, just pacing towards 40 minutes.
Yeah,
and then I was pacing towards 40 minutes because it was a 15-minute ride ski, and it would gradually climb up. And occasionally, like you, Diego, or Elliot, you would come over and go like, "Oh, this is going to be a sub 45 minute. He's going to do it, right?" And so then you're like cranking away and cranking away and cranking away, and then like and somehow like it's not getting, you know, it's just like crawling up.
Yeah.
And that's that exhaustion point at the end, right? Because it's actually now like the difference of the fact that you're like on a 20-second pace slower than what's been called out all this time gets to your head. And suddenly you want to achieve that. And that's those moments where I was like moaning and like crying.
Like shouting.
And like shouting and pulling really hard, because I was like, I just have to like get it like that little bit down. I don't mind that it's slightly off the original pace discussed. I mind that in this very moment, I can't extract more to like get just there.
But we did smash it. We did really well. And I think, like you said, leading up to that, you know, that day, you did dial in your sleep. You had a lot of hours this night before. You was up early. You went to bed early. You was up early. You didn't change anything in your nutrition. You ate normally. You just raring to go, mate. That was it. Turned up and just smashed it, which was it's class. What's our next goal? Have we ever thought about that? Because we've not had a discussion about that, have we?
It's only been like 5 days.
Yeah. I think maybe another weight sort of.
Yeah,
a weight sort of goal, you know, maybe.
This morning I really enjoyed doing weights. Like it was.
Yeah. I know we've touched upon snatches and cleans before. I think maybe we can change the goalpost a little bit, do a bit more Olympic lifting, and set you a goal of weights on a snatch and clean and jerk maybe, because I know you enjoyed them last time.
Yeah.
And you picked it up really well. So maybe we can think about that. If anyone listening or watching does have any good goals that we can set Herb, whether how crazy they might be, because he's into crazy goals, you know, so send them over and maybe we can discuss that.
It's fun. It's become a very nice routine.
Yeah.
Like I hate to stop, you know. It's
nice people joining in. I like that as well.
Yeah, it's doing something different. People joining in, you know, having a bit of a chat and a laugh about it, but still working really hard towards it, and it's been really good.
And then enjoying a couple of beers afterwards, or a nice feed, you know. Yeah, that's what I think about when I'm doing something like that. I think about what I'm going to eat afterwards.
My legs did feel very soft after the 2 beers I had that day.
So doing these goals, whether it's the deadlift, the marathon row, the weight step ups, what have you learnt the most from all these sort of goals that I've set you?
what have I learned the most? I mean, like, you know, in the simplest, I am perfectly capable of achieving all of them if I put my head to it, and the bit of the discipline in there. And also I can absolutely enjoy the journey getting there, and that journey yields so much benefit inside and outside. Like I think that's the biggest piece. I am a happier person because of everything I've been doing there, and the fact that I've been also adding these little challenges, these little success points and milestones.
Awesome. I think that's a good note to finish on. I think I just want to say thank you to you. You've obviously been a pleasure to work with, and you've been open-minded to all these goals that I've set you, and it's been a pleasure. And the journey may or still will continue.
It will continue.
And I'll see you tomorrow morning.
And thank you very much. It's been life-changing.
It's wrapped up. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you to our main sponsor, Frio Sparkling Water, and a huge thank you to you watching on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think by dropping a message in the comment section below.